Bows and bow ties. Hey. Yeah, I don't typically go live on the weekends, not too often, but I had time today. I had a limited schedule today, so I took my braids out, hence I don't know what the situation is. It's giving me some Jackson 5 vibes. Oh, baby, give me one more chance. So, I'm trying to decide if I'm just going to leave it like this for another day or two, or if I'm going to wash it and flat iron it, or if I'm going to be braided. I don't know. But anyway, I digress. So, yes, let me go ahead and throw up this thumbnail real quick. So, this is what the thumbnail is. Now, I enjoy being a little bit shady, but it was basically based off of the panel conversation I had the other day. And so I decided to do a little short video on why are Black men obsessed with the government, Black women, and handouts. Now, it's a little shady, but this is just where I'm at with it. Now, let me just say this. If you don't want to hear me talk about it, then you can go ahead and exit right on out of this video because I'm speaking from the Black woman's perspective. And I'm not saying that we're blameless, okay? Excuse me, I still have allergies. I'm not saying we're blameless, but I will say that I do come from a different perspective, from a different lens. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm the Black opinionated woman, also known as a beau. So, I need to come up with another tagline. When I had my old name, I think it was free from groupthink. I still like that tagline. I might come up with another one. I also like the tagline was a safe place for women who dare to dissent, but that seemed pretty long. So this is an evolution. This wasn't like well thought out. I did write a few things down, but this isn't meant to be heavy, but it's just meant to give you just from my perspective. So let me throw that thumbnail up one more time because I'm just feeling a little shady. And plus I'm sipping some good. All right. Let me bring that over here. All right. So I'm like, I just want to talk about, I had this panel discussion the other day with some friends of mine, and they're really cool dudes. But at the end of the day, I tend to have a slightly different perspective. And so in that conversation, I always think about things in terms of like when I hear certain things, it's a little, I don't want to say triggering, but maybe it's triggering, especially when we bring up the system or the government. So I just feel like whenever we're having a conversation about things that ails our community, do you guys like my lip gloss? Aren't my lips like popping and locking? Aren't they pretty? I can't stop looking at myself. Anyway, so when I think about um when we're talking about things like what was the topic the other day? I think I was talking about black excellence, black athletes. Um what was the topic? I don't remember, but it was like black excellence, black athletes. Anybody remember? Black Kanye and R. Kelly. Okay. And then part of the conversation is always like the system. And so let me just say this. I'm going to say as a community, and then I'm going to say specifically for Black men, we need to stop being obsessed with the system. We've got to stop being obsessed with the system because I feel like this. I know we are owed reparations. A long time ago, back in the beginning, I did a podcast. I was terrible at it, but basically, I talked about how we are owed reparations. We are owed reparations. We're owed so much. And yes, I know we have established communities in the past, and these communities have been derailed, but I'm just kind of like, we can't practice learned helplessness. And I know it bothers people, and they're like, but we can't discount the system. I'm like, I'm not. I get it. But this is the thing that irks me, especially when it comes to Black men, because I see them and they're so talented and funny and ingenious. Like, is ingenious the right word? I would say they're creative. They're intelligent. They're a lot of things. But I feel like it becomes really easy to say, well, they owe us these things. And there's so many things that are against us. I'm like, okay, and like no one is making us create. misogynistic music. See, what many of our black men will do is they'll say things like, "Oh, we're not in control of the kind of music that's being put out there." I'm like, "But we control what we say." They're going to put out the people who own music and media and all that good stuff. They're going to put out what they're going to put out. Okay? But they can't put it out if we don't give them the content. And I feel like we constantly fall back on this whole like it's the system, it's the government, it's the man, it's white supremacy. But I feel like we're the main ones upholding it. We're propping it up. See, when you put out bad music that is misogynistic and stuff like that, we've got men out here now saying some crazy stuff. You've got women who are believing that they are these horrible things. They refer to themselves as bees and hoes and but I'm like, this is the thing. I've said this a long time ago and I'll say it again. I gosh, I feel like this. Or maybe this was in other conversations. I don't know. I may have done a video on this. I may not have, but this is the thing that I always say. Black men, if you want to be seen as leaders, then you have to lead. You can't expect people to follow you when you're like, well, we don't own this, so we don't have any control. I'm like, but you can't control yourself. You can't control what you say. You can't control what you produce. I'm like, I'm tired of the no more excuses. No one is forcing us to be in gangs. We are keeping gang culture alive. And yes, there are other groups out there that have gangs, but I'm talking specifically for the Black community right now, right? So no one is forcing us to be in these gangs and to promote gang culture, but we continue to do it. We love to blame the system. And then when it comes to the violence, and yes, most of the violence that happens within communities is typically from the community, but I know the media likes to talk about black on black crime. But the fact of the matter is, even if it's true that there are communities, like people who belong to whatever community is, most of the violence is going to come from members of that community. I always tell people, no one is forcing you to participate in crime within our community. I'm like, our black men are willing to snuff out the life of another man, another black man. And then what happens is we have these deflection conversations on like, oh, well, the data says, I'm like, I don't F that for a second. Listen, when you are in a gang or fighting wars over property we don't own, like I was watching something on TikTok today and I was having a moment. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is a really good point. I saw two posts today where someone said, one guy said, I went to jail defending turf that I didn't even own. And another person said, like, we need to stop, or it was something along the, oh, I'm gonna butcher this, but it was something along the lines of like, we are out here trying to hold people like, oh, this is my street, like check in, like telling black people, black men, if they gotta check in when they go to somebody's city, or I'm like, and they're like, and we don't own anything there, but we're telling people we gotta check in, but then we don't get it. We'll be the first ones evicted out of the city. They'll knock down a place like an apartment building or whatever and displace you or displace us. And so I was just sitting there thinking, like, oh, that's so right on. It was so basic, but so true. So between the panel discussion and something that I had seen on TikTok, I was like, oh, yes, we need to talk about it. We're way too obsessed with the system. We're so obsessed with the system and stuff that isn't even ours. And instead of focusing on the things that we can control, we focus on the things that we can't control. So as soon as you start to talk about anything that's wrong in the community, the first thing we do is we say, oh, it's the system. I'm like, we know the system is jacked up, but and so anyway, I just want to say that black men are obsessed with talking about the system. Obsessed with talking about the system. I'm just going to say this again. I see somebody that just joined in. One of the things I saw on TikTok was literally um, someone was talking about how it is crazy that we will try to hold each other accountable, or like you got to check in, or we'll start turf wars over something that we don't even own. I mean, I thought that was pretty deep, you know? It makes me think like how do we turn this around? We've got so many millionaires and and millionaires, and I would say even thousandaires, I'm like, when we have that kind of money, however we have it, whether it's through sports, entertainment, business, ill-gotten goods, I feel like we should have enough money that we can go in and erect housing in stores and all that kind of stuff. But we don't do it. We have a, well, I got mine mentality, right? We're obsessed with the system. The system isn't obsessed with us, but we're obsessed with the system. It's just so embarrassing when we have a conversation. The first thing I hear are men falling back to this notion of the system. And I get it. I'm not saying it's not a thing, but I'm like, it's not going away. So now what? What's the plan? It's supposed to be leaders, right? Lead. How are you going to lead then? Lead. You can come up with ways of saying a phrase in a song, and how we want to recreate fashion and lingo and all these other things, but we can't figure out how to lead in our community. At this point, I want to see Black men lead. What's the solution? Put your money where your dollar is. No, put your money where your mouth is. Now, like, I'm enjoying some, you know, libation. So my husband wants, it's 6:06 p.m. here in the East Coast, and my husband wants to go out to dinner. I have a son who should be home shortly. He has a part-time job. So I won't be able to be on too long, maybe another 10, 15 minutes, whatever. But I'm like, yeah, lead. I think it's long overdue. Lead. I would love to see some entertainer, rapper, whatever. Like, like how you have people who might build a school. I would love to see somebody like let's have like a synergistic effect. Like you pick a city and somebody is responsible for um uh, I don't know, some residential living spaces. And you have another person who's responsible for having a plot of land, and now we can put stores there, and somebody else who's responsible for making sure that we have parks or whatever. And like within that park there is a section that is roped off just for growing vegetables or something, right? Introducing vegetables and fruits and stuff into the community, right? Planting trees, and it can't be touched. Putting a solar farm out there, right? Having a place where, like, we used to have the strong community centers, put some energy back into when you get enough of these millionaires and billionaires and thousandaires and millionaires and hundredaires, like imagine the synergistic effect if we stopped focusing on the system. And I'm not saying that you can get 100% away from it, right? Because you got to work within the confines of the system. But what if you have people who focus on those things? What if you had people who focused on, I don't know, transportation? So I don't know. I don't have all the answers, right? Because I know there's people out there who are well educated, highly knowledgeable people in public administration and that type of thing. What if, by virtue of there being this kind of presence and people having pride in where they live, right? Not pride in their stupid football team, or even though I'm totally into like football and basketball and all like those things, but not just that, like pride into knowing, like, hey, look, in our city, we have this beautiful park, but not only do we have a park, we work in concert with the government, but like we have this set aside for growing our own trees and vegetables. So not only is it a protected space, but it's used for science and biology and botany and learning. It's helping to um, make inroads into eliminating these food deserts, right? So now, if you can ever have a grocery store put in there, maybe they're sourcing from within the city, local farming. So yeah, I just feel like we're really just focused on the government. And yes, we can go back in history. There was the Highway Act. I forgot what you call it. Was basically redlining, but there was an official term for that. There were so many things that happened. Black Wall Street was decimated. There were all kinds of cities that were thriving in the 1900s, and then these bad things happen. And so like I get it, but when are we going to stop talking about it? Right now, we've got men out there who are anti-black, and and this is the thing. When I say anti-black, I know I'm going to take heat for this. It doesn't mean interracial relationships are bad. I don't really think they're bad. I just think that the reasoning behind many of these relationships are bad. Let me give an example. When you go out of your way to say that you don't like black women for all these other things, I'm like, all right, ding dong, let's keep it moving. I think that there are instances when you do meet people, like, and it just happens to be somebody who doesn't look like you, right? And maybe you have your freak thing in common. It could be like the toenail clipping club. I don't know, whatever freak thing that you're into, and you just vibe with the dude or the woman from the toenail clipping club, right? Whatever freak thing that you're into, like I get it. I get that, right? And you just build a rapport from there, and then you find that you have a lot in common. And then I feel like at some point you have to vet each other, right? To say, hey, look, these are the things that are important to me from a cultural standpoint, things that are going to be attached to me based on the color of my skin and, whatever, or my gender, or all these other things. Like, I get that. But much of what I hear is not based on that. It's based on running away from who they are. Nevertheless, when I hear people speaking about anti Black, I hear a lot of misogyny and misogynoir in the rhetoric, in the music. You've got a group of people who don't care. And no, I know it's not everybody, and I don't want to have to do a whole bunch of qualifying. I just look, fam, I just want to talk, right? Can I just talk? Can we talk? We've got women out here who don't have any value in themselves. The only value they see in themselves is their body. Look at our entertainers. People are gonna want to come for me, but look at them. You've got Nicki Minaj, you've got Meg the Stallion, you've got Beyonce, you got Chloe Bailey, and there's some other girls that I don't know. Um, I can't remember their names. I don't know if I know their music. So yeah, I mean, like I said, taking it back to the point I was saying, like, Black men are obsessed over these things, and it was based on some of the things I heard in the panel. Then I saw some things in TikTok, and I'm like, Black men are like highly obsessed over the government. It's the government. It's the system. And I'm like, but what is stopping you from learning X? What is stopping you from creating better music? What is stopping you from just trying to find a different job? Now, look, there's extenuating circumstances wherever you go, but generally speaking, nobody's forcing you to sell, you know, drugs to people. To You've got young kids as runners. Look, I watched The Wire. Oh my goodness. But okay, so I want to move on past the system. I think Black men are obsessed with Black women. Now, you're probably wondering where I came from, so let me write this down for a second. I mean, let me go to my section here so I can stay focused. Number one, I feel like I'm just going to read this. Black men want to dress like Black women They wanna do things in beauty like Black women. They want their bodies to look like Black women. They wanna act like Black women, at least the stereotypes anyway. Um, they wanna be categorized like Black women now. You got men deciding that they wanna be women. They wanna be Black women. The shiggity is weird. You got Black men who I feel like they're not in competition with Black men. I just feel like they're in competition with Black women. I feel like the only way now our comedians could be successful is if they impersonate a Black woman. A while ago, I think I still have the notes on this. I don't think I ever did the video on this. Maybe, maybe not. I'm like looking at some of the most prominent people, or at least comedians. I look at like Martin Lawrence, Eddie Murphy, Tyler Perry. Um, did Chris Rock dress as a woman? I can't remember. You've got so many Black men. The only way they can get far in industry is if they, I'm sorry if my language is a little weird, right? Because I've been enjoying my libation. But I feel like the only way they can get far in industry is if they impersonate Black women, and they have to pull the most awful stereotypes about Black women. Everything is disparaging. They make these movies, they get their money, they got mine, but knowing that there also are people who go to the movie theater and those are the images that they see of Black women. They made it, they do it almost for sport. Look at the memes. If you look on TikTok, for some reason I enjoy TikTok. It is a time sink, it's a time suck, and it's a time sink because some of the stuff is funny, but I typically swipe up when I see things where a Black man put a wig on trying to act like a Black woman, even if it's a good PSA. I'm like, nope. They dress up as choirs, although some of them have been funny in the past, but they dress up as Black women in choirs. They dress up. Dang, you can tell I've been enjoying my libation, right? They dress up as Black women, um, Black mothers, but it's always negative. Black mothers be like, and I'm like, oh my gosh. They put on these crazy outfits. They go out of their way to have a wig cocked to the side, and it's horrible. They try to impersonate any and everything that's negative associated with women. They're obsessed with Black women, so I think they're trying to be better women than Black women. You've got men who literally want to be Black women. They're changing their bodies and everything. Yeah. So I'm like, they're between being obsessed with being a Black woman and obsessed with with the system, the government. I'm like, where are our energies, Black men? You want to lead? Show me how you're going to lead. I don't want to hear anything about this system. I don't. I don't want to see you put on a dress and a wig anymore. I don't. And the other thing I want to talk about, which is really tied to the system, is handouts. We're constantly waiting for a handout. It's owed to us. Can you please pick me up like everybody? I'm like, they're not going to. They're not going to. They have given the Native Americans reparations, the Japanese reparations. You know, I'm like, look, they're not going to. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't. Oh, excuse me. So sorry. I mean, I just feel like this unhealthy obsession with things that they shouldn't be obsessed with. It's getting old. How can now granted, this is gonna make me sound like a pick me, but I'm like, well, my husband is amazing in every way, I mean, well, not really, but you know what I'm saying. But I mean, my husband, I mean, he's part of the community too. And so of course I'm gonna sound a little pick me-ish, but I'm just kind of like when we were vetting each other, I was like, I don't want anybody like X, Y, and Z. And he was selective in how he was vetting. He was like, yeah. You know what? This is gonna be so petty, but I think about the things like I remember when we would go out to dinner. I remember one time I said, "Hey, let me take care of it," because he spoiled me. And I think he was looking to see how much I was gonna tip the waitress, right? And I typically tip 20%. And I guess because he's been burned by people in the past, tipping like a couple dollars or whatever. Like, and then he just doesn't deal with that. He's like, I'll just take care of it, right? And I know it sounds petty, and this is going to be taken the wrong way, but I think he was looking for a certain type of person. I was too. He's like, I don't want to deal with that. Anyway, so I just feel like the obsessions are in the wrong, they're just in the wrong space. They're in the wrong space. I feel like with black men, now look, I got on black women probably a couple of videos ago, and I talk about this beauty aesthetic, right? Like we say that we're so proud of and all this stuff, and don't get me wrong, there's parts about us that are the standard, but in the same token, they go out of their way to have these long, luxurious wigs. And that's not to say that we can't have long hair. Um, but I kind of get why it's done, right? I mean, I got on black women for doing these things. And I think a lot of it has to do with self-esteem, right? Like I think we're working to build our own self-esteem, but nevertheless, when you're bombarded with all these images, you've got some of these women are listening to the men, the crazy ones who are out there saying like, if it's not snowing, it's not flowing, or whatever that term is. So some of them take it to heart. They take it personal and they listen to all the content. And I'm trying to get people to understand you need to be swiping away from it. Don't click on a lot of that content. Don't even put that in your soul. Don't put that in your spirit. Where's I going with this? I feel like with black men, they also have low self-esteem. They compare themselves to white men all the time. And I'm going to be honest, I really think that many black men want to be white men. And people are going to refute what I'm saying. I think I said this a long, long time ago. I think a lot of these things are coming out now. A lot of people are saying more of these things. But the fact of the matter is, I really do believe that a lot of black men have low self-esteem. They equate their value to what's in between their legs, like the size of their member, which from what I hear, I'm like, isn't that a myth? I don't know. I don't know if it's a myth. But I would say they could equate their value to what's in between their legs. And then they look to other men as a standard instead of believing they are the standard, right? Because I feel like every community believes that they're the standard except for black men. They don't believe they're the standard. Everything is in comparison to the system or to the white man. Now, they say that's not true, but it is true. It is. If you listen to them talk, they'll say all these other things. And, well, if you look at what they say about black, I'm like, miss me. Look around, use your eyes. I just feel like the black man, what is going on? When are you guys gonna pick yourselves up by the bootstraps at this point? Now I know this position is unpopular. I'm okay with it. I'm all the way okay with it. I'm just waiting for black men to just care to bother. Yeah. So anyway, those are my thoughts. you know, I don't know. I don't know what these weird obsessions are, but I will. Oh, this other thing I wrote down. I said they choose a lack of education. Now that's a little harsh, but nevertheless, I think they need to circle back to choosing education. Knowledge really means a lot, and a lot of people can say, "Oh, not everybody has to go to college." I'm like, "F that. Take your butt to school." Of course, there's value in the trades, but I'm always going to push education. I am. You learn new methodologies and systems and all these other things. And I don't want it to be deemed like ridiculous if you're pushing education. I push education all the way. All right. So look, I know look, some of y'all need to go ahead and subscribe. You guys are not hitting that you guys are not hitting the subscribe button, but go ahead and hit the like button and you need to leave a comment. I like comments. I do eventually get to comments, okay? So leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. All right. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. I know there's going to be a lot of black men like, click off. It's okay. But I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on like why black men are obsessed with the shenanigans. All right, let me get on out of here because my libation is kicking in lovely. And I know my son should be here any moment. And I'm trying to figure out if we're going out to dinner or not. And if we do, I'm going out with my hair like this. I'm all the way going out like this. I don't care. I think I'm cute regardless. All right, let me get out of here.